All right, my friends. Today is meeting right now, Writers Group meeting 18. Wow, I can't believe it's been 17 meetings already. I still remember Soul, you and me in the first one trying to figure out what was going on.
Oh my God, yes.
But I'm so glad to have all you guys here. I know editing's been on my mind, so maybe we'll talk about a little bit of editing, maybe some Hermes the cat stuff. I know everybody's loving our ginger cat, and whatever writing shenanigans that you guys want to talk about. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to drop it down in the chat and we'll get to it. We'll also do some writing sprints. But starting off though, first, welcome everybody. I'm glad to have all our writers, some of our regulars here. Why don't we just go around real quick? Because I know James, the community knows you. But why don't we just go around real quick and reintroduce ourselves for all of our new viewers in the audience. Who are you and what are you working on? What's like the thing that you're working on? Or maybe the thing you're procrastinating from working on. One of the two. We'll add that, the procrastination. And I will go in order of boxes. Soul, you're to my left. You're to my left. I'm just going from now on. I'm just going to do this, and then I'm just going to move this thing. So I will always be right now. All right, so pass to you.
So I'm Chat Soul. Like Jared mentioned, I've been here like since the beginning. I'm also working on. I've been working on the adventure WriteNow. Hermes a cat story, and I almost have chapter 3 done. I've gotten most of the choices done, and I'm gonna finish it up probably tomorrow. But honestly, I was planning on working on that tonight, but then my brain was like, you know what? No, you have this other idea you want to work on, and I'm gonna hate you if you don't do it.
It's okay, so I'll help you stay motivated. I haven't gone to write today yet, so I'm gonna hop into the document for you.
Awesome. Please help me with the comedic choices, because I'm terrible at that.
Oh God, you're asking the dramatic writer to help with comedy.
You might do better than me. You try doing something with an axe. That's hard to be funny with.
Sounds like someone has an axe to grind. Yeah, my humor is gonna be dad humor. That's what we've got. I'm like, which one's the dad character? I'll do that.
But normally I write fan fictions, but this month I'm working on the WriteNow, and then tonight, well, it's a fan fiction because my brain will hate me otherwise.
Excellent. Love to have you here, Chat Soul. And Bobby, I'll pass it over to. I'll get the screen thing down eventually. I'll pass it over to you, Bobby.
Okay, I'm Bobby. If you all want to, you can call me Speedy. Just whatever is easy for you all. I'm actually finished with my first novel.
Woo,
it's sitting at 90,500 words.
Incredible.
And Kaufman is ready to kill me.
Never. I love that. I love when writers make progress.
I'm kidding, Kaufman.
I just wait till the editing.
It is
then things will change.
Yeah. Actually, Kaufman, if you look in the comments, I made a statement that somebody had told me that the editing process was actually, it was ML. The editing process was heck to do. And I said, instead of me screaming, it'll be Kaufman. And everybody just laughed at me.
You know what? I absolutely love the editing process. But I can go on a whole diatribe about editing. I'll let you guys finish your intro, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about editing stuff. But Bobby, welcome. What are you working on today? Are you going to be just trying to get some editing done on your stuff?
I am going to be doing as much editing on my novel that I can. And quick side note, hello, Holly Davis. Thanks for the stream the other day.
That's so cool. I saw you hopped on Holly's stream. That's actually really, really cool. Awesome. Bobby, Thank you so much for joining us. And I'll pass it down to ML. We got the cool box movement thing now. You're muted. You muted, ML.
See what happens when you follow directions. Hello, everyone. Today I will be working on my NaNoWriMo goals of writing. And what I'm working on is a second follow-up book to my Necromancer series.
So cool. I love the cover art.
And this was done by Get Covers. I think you've talked about them before.
I might have a while back when we were chatting about covers, and I was doing a little bit of research.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also in the middle of beta reading the third of my novella series, The Changeling Fate. So the third novella is finishing it and is out for beta readers. So in Discord, I put out a thing that if anybody would be interested in a quick read, it's only about a little over 13,000 words to beta read. Just give me a shout.
That's not too bad at all. So I think that's a really good call out. If we have anybody else who's working on a story and might need feedback, I always recommend trading for alpha or beta reads. Great, easy strategy. So that's really cool, ML. And then for the community who's not aware of your book, I mean, obviously the cover is magical, but it's supernatural is the genre, right?
Science. The Changeling Fate is that it is about it deals with a witch who finds a stolen Fey prince in the woods, and she raises it as her own. So
awesome. Well, I definitely love fays, witches, and changelings.
Unfortunately, no dragons.
Oh God. For any of you guys who missed out yesterday, I have finally figured out the prime piece of writing advice. If you're ever stuck, put a dragon on it.
And it'll only cost you $300
per dragon part. Awesome, ML. Glad to have you back with us today. I'll pass it over to you, James. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. So James Adams, also known as WTC Creatives. I am a web designer by trade, and I am also working on books. I actually have my first book that's going to be published the 27th of this month. And
so
what
cool.
I'm working
really,
on
really
is
awesome.
Yeah. So what I'm working on is right now is edits for book 2, and also trying to get all the stuff together so that I can post out on Amazon and Drafted Digital and all those other platforms.
The whole marketing shebang. Totally get that.
Yep.
Well, I'm definitely glad to have you join us today, James. For those of you who've been with the community for at least a couple months, you guys have probably recognized James from we've done a couple website review streams. Anything website related, like James, you are so knowledgeable. So definitely highly recommend also for anyone who needs a website or website services. Awesome. So thank you guys all for joining. And I'd like to now take a moment to welcome all you to the WriteNow community. The WriteNow Writers Group is our weekly Wednesday writer session where we all come together, we chat about writing stuff, procrastination, editing, techniques. I think we've done philosophy before, whatever comes to mind. So thank you for joining us here in the chat. I'm Kaufman, and I'm on a mission just to help writers with the writing process. The process can have highs, have lows, but we got a daily community here. So glad to have all you here because we're starting right now. All right. And let me just hop into the chat. Glad to have all you here. Courtney, welcome to the stream. I love coming in here. I was telling the others, I'm like, when I come into the stream late and seeing everybody's talking already, I'm like, I have to catch up, clearly. Marta, welcome. Glad to have you here. Aaron Davis, what's up? Kelly Reviews, I'm here. Glad to have you. I'm like, ooh, curious to know what you review. And let's see, Lynn Stevenson Ivers, welcome, Lynn. Glad to have you in here. And let's see, oh my Jordy, my fellow dragon enthusiast. I appreciate you. Glad to have you in here as well. Megan, welcome back. Tiara in the house, what's up? Jabria, welcome back to the stream. Another one. I saw you over in Holly's stream. Glad to have you guys in the community. And the Miss Holly Davis, welcome with her book that just launched a week ago. Very, very cool book. I still want to know about these diamond powers. So clearly we need to buy the book if you want to learn about diamond powers. And Nil, welcome, welcome. Awesome. So glad to have all you guys here in the stream. We're super active today. So what we're going to do, we're going to be chatting about different writing conversations, and then we'll hop into some writing sprints on the back end of the stream. So if you need to get some writing done, make sure to stick around. We're going to see how many words we can get. Today's day 13 of NaNoWriMo, or maybe you're just trying to make progress on your story, and we'll see who can get the most words during a writing sprint, or for me, might be doing an editing sprint. So we'll see how that goes. Awesome. But I would love to hear, if you're here in the comments, how is your stories going today? How's your storytelling going? We would love to hear from you. And I'm going to pull everyone back up into the stream. All right, my friends. So I'm very, very glad to have all of you here. As I was scanning the comments earlier, I know something that I saw a bunch of you guys talking about was editing your books. I'm curious, does everybody dislike the editing process, or is that just, am I like the only one who likes editing? Am I just a weirdo like that?
You're a weirdo like that.
Yes, you are.
Woo! I love it.
I've actually kind of been enjoying the editing process for my books. It's not the best thing, but it's actually really nice going through my work and seeing what I did like weeks ago, and then seeing what I can do with it now, and maybe like see if there's any improvements. At least that's how I look at it.
No, I mean, I think that's a really good way. It's interesting as I'm editing like Last Scarecrow, and I'm working on something where I know I can literally time code exactly where I was working at it like 100 streams ago. So it's crazy. But I think for me, I look at editing less like I don't look at it like a task or a chore. I look at it as a puzzle that needs to be solved, whether the puzzle is syntax for word choices or the puzzle is greater developmental stuff for characters, plots, and world building. For me, it's like I've written part of a picture during the rough draft, and then now I have some of the pieces, and I need to put all the pieces together to really bring that vision in my head to life.
Yeah. Well, editing for me is like, I'm not a masochist, so I'm not really big on editing, but I do it.
Editors, the true masochists.
Yeah. So, it's one of those where I go back and I do my editing, and then I feel the shame from my word choice. Because I love eyes, apparently. Really love eyes. You read my books, it's eyes.
It's filled with eyes. I think that's I think that's the true struggle of every writer, right? If I'm writing a character, how do I form the sentences so it's not, I did this, I saw this, I am that.
But it's a necessary evil.
Absolutely. Absolutely necessary evil. Every single time I edit a book, and now that I've gone through like so many actually over just the course of this past year, there's always like 3 to 5 things I've noticed that every single writer does consistently that could be improved on. And I think it's just a part of a style and a part of the process of learning, which is really, really cool. But even for me, like, I know I probably have a lot of mistakes in mine or things that I overlook, but I won't really recognize it until somebody else reads or edits it and tells me about it.
Okay. So as far as editing is concerned, since we're having this discussion related to editing, what tools do you guys use while you're doing your editing or your writing process? Like for me, I have Pro Writing Aid. And so while I'm writing the book, Pro Writing Aid is marking everything that's wrong. And so I'm actually able to go back and make a lot of corrections as a part of the writing process. And then after I'm done with Pro Writing Aid, then I run it through AutoCrit to kind of get a little bit more information. So I'm just curious what everybody else uses in terms of tools to help them out with editing.
I absolutely really love that. I know a couple of people in the comments have already tuned in on our editing conversation. Lynn was saying, I already enjoy editing when I know it's decent already. When I know things are broken, I get annoyed. Let's see. Megan's like, editing can be tricky sometimes, but interesting. I would read a bit of my chapters. If I see something off or weird, I tweak it. Let's see. And then Marta's like, for me, editing is a nightmare as I get twice the amount of job due to English version and Polish version because you have an additional barrier because of difference in languages. But always keep in mind, most of us are writing in English. Like I could never write in another language. So that's definitely an obstacle for sure. Tiara's like, editing is fine in my opinion. It just gets exhausting when I'm staring at the same words and not seeing where it should go next. So James, you posed a really great question about which writing tools do we use. Let's see. When I think about writing tools, I mean, I think for me personally, a tool that I will leverage is Grammarly. But what I've learned from Grammarly, and I actually didn't even want to invest in it originally. I got it as a gift. I'm like, okay, well, it's here. I'm going to try it, and I found it to be an invaluable tool. But what I've learned is that it is helpful about 50% of the time, and then it detracts from the style, whether it's from my own or something else I'm reading, the other 50% of the time. And I think like everything, it's a tool. So it's something to use in or recognize that it's a tool. It's not like the defining thing, unlike my brain. So awesome. What about the rest of you guys? ML, what do you use?
Well, while I am typing, I have Grammarly on, and then after I have written the first draft, then I put it into edit GTP, or I may have gotten those. I may have gotten those number or those letters wrong, but I put it into the is it GTP or it's edit, and then it finds things that are wrong, and
that's
then
actually interesting. I haven't considered funneling it through like a chat GPT. Is it like an edit type GPT?
I'm trying to pull it up now. It's edit GPT. It's its own separate program, and all it's doing is proofreading. It's proofreading it, and then after I've ran through the that, then I put the proofread thing into Pro Writing Aids.
Okay. Has Pro Writing Aid been helpful?
Yes, because I discovered from the first Deadcaster book that there was not a comma or a or an and that I didn't like. So I mean, I could have a sentence that was 50 words long.
50-word long sentence. Man.
So I highly, recommend running it through Pro Writing Aid to get that mix of sentence lengths, because it finds those sentences that are over 30 words long and helps you to rephrase those, and then after Pro Writing Aid, then I will send it back to my Word document. So
it sounds like it goes through a bit of a process.
So it's a chapter will go through, let's see, Grammarly, edit, and then Pro Writing Aid. So, and then back. And I found that Pro Writing Aid and Grammarly really, really battle each other over commas.
Dude, I'm sure. I'm sure. That's like, I'm not surprised by that at all. It's interesting because Grammarly, with commas, Grammarly will go a lot from of course, a correct way to use comma, or a correct way to leverage commas, of course, but it doesn't understand style. And that could be because of just where the program is at, or it just could be the human condition, right? We probably might not be able to teach a program how to oh, I want to have a comma here because this is part of a breath. It's for character development, as compared to the comma has to be here because it's grammatically correct. So I think that's really interesting. I know for me, I was leveraging which one? Oh, I tried out AutoCrit for a while, and I actually did like the program. I actually did like AutoCrit, but I think that's because I'm so used to a very basic, bare bones writing software. I like being able to have the word counts tracking. I like being able to see all the different tools and get that analysis. But I just realized with the live streaming aspect, I wasn't able to run it consistently while I was live streaming with my current setup. So yeah, I think that was the only thing. But from a writing standpoint, it was actually pretty decent.
Jared, click on the last comment from Courtney.
Which one? Grammarly doesn't understand slang at all.
No, it does not.
That's actually funny you said that. I was like, I don't think Grammarly has the option to add phrases or add words in it as exceptions. Yeah, I know there absolutely is. There is a way to turn it off. But outside of Grammarly, I know Holly mentioned another one, which I'm not too familiar with. Holly said, I love the Hemingway editing app. Just a website, not really an app, that lets you know if you have passive voice, run-on sentences, etc. I'm like, I'm wondering if anybody else has heard that. But I mean, like, clearly Hemingway, great branding, really, really good branding as a program there. That's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it really depends and differs from writer to writer what the editing process looks like. And I think clearly we all use different types of editing tools and editing things to get through our story. But I think generally editing can be a challenge for most people. As I'm thinking about like editing and obstacles, this question was kind of on my mind earlier today. Is there a writing pet peeve that each of you guys have when you're working on your own writing?
For me, it would be, let's see, when the story's going one way and next thing I know, it's taking a completely different turn from what I wanted it to go. I hate that.
Like it's almost like you're planning it to go in one direction and then it pivots. Do you feel like you have to try to get back on track, or?
Sometimes I just go with the flow and try to let it be what it's gonna be. But more so than not, I like to try to keep it about the same flow.
Okay.
But there are occasions, like in my first novel that I've written, which you will see when I send it to you, Jared.
Love
it. There's a scene in there that went a completely different direction than I was wanting it to go, but I went back and read it, and I thought that actually fits. So I wasn't too mad at this one.
I think that's one of the reasons that I love I love making mistakes sometimes, and especially trying new things, because sometimes you get stuck and you try something, but you don't know that maybe that thing that you write isn't, or maybe it won't be that great, but for all you know, it leads to something else, which could be really awesome. And that definitely happened to me. And let me tell you, when it happened the first time in Scarecrow, it ended up in Dragons. So I was very happy. Yeah. So I was like, I'm trying to think of for myself what a writing pet peeve is that really bugs me. And I think it's less that, but it's more like my own writing. I have such a history of over describing things. And I think that can actually be pretty common. I think that it can actually be pretty common for a lot of writers. And I mean, I see it in a lot of stories I edit, but I think it's because in our heads, we have the image, we have the stuff, we have the words, and then we're translating it here. Now add that to 80,000 words, 100,000 words, and you want to just keep going, but you don't want to stop yourself. So you're like, okay, well, I need to paint this image somehow. And I think that tends to be something really common that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
Does that
I
happen
agree.
to you guys?
No, I agree with the overwriting piece of it, because like book one for me, when I was finished with the book, was 120,000 words.
Mhm.
And after going through the editing process and sending it through an editor, it's down to 94,000.
Mhm.
Book two is 160,000 words. It's down to 102,000 now. So yes, I
Wow, that's
overwrite.
good. That's good. You were able to cut out almost 60,000 words almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for
So I'm trying to make sure that all of my books stay under 100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that's a struggle that I'm having with Scarecrow. I like keep telling myself I need to cut words, and I just keep adding.
What's your secret, James? I want to know, because mine is 90,000.
I have a tendency to be very descriptive when I'm doing my writing. A little bit too descriptive. So I can actually go through and I can cut out a whole bunch of descriptions, but not lose any of the actual story itself. So it just continues. And so I'm just,
right.
As I was going through there, thought processes. So my character's in the middle of a conversation, and then all of a sudden I do a whole paragraph of what my main character's thinking about. Mm-hmm. While he's having a conversation, it's like, no, let me just cut all these think things out and just go strictly with the conversation. And my fight scenes were the same thing. I was doing a lot of in the head thing. And talking with my editor and reading some of the books, doing the research, they say that like fight scenes, just like sex scenes, should be short, sweet, and to the point. Get to the action, get through the action, and get done. And so that's what I kind of adopted with all of my different aspects of my novel, is just getting in there, getting just the baseline stuff that's there enough to push the scene along, and then moving on to the next scene.
Completely agreed with that. Whenever I think about any type of action, I know everyone's like, is that Crow?
Yes.
We got Crow. Crow's always lurking in the corner over there. But I completely agree, though, with action scenes, especially intimacy scenes, anything that involves that feels like it should be faster paced. And this is always the thing that I think of, right? What is the reading experience going to be like? Now, obviously, we can tell them, right? It's this, and this happens. But I think a lot of times that sentence syntax, like shorter sentences, can help. Progressing it along can help. And then when you add interiority, like interiority can support it. But every single time you have a question or something that happens in the character's head, you chance point the reader out of the moment. So what happens in the character's head has to support and further the almost like the tension of the moment, the speed of it. Yeah, but I mean, if there's anyone here who's a pro, who's really good at action scenes, I know. So you and your sword fight scenes.
Not just sword fighting; it's literally any kind of fighting. I have this weird knack for it, and I blame my obsessive amount of anime.
So what's one of your tips for writing like fighting scenes?
Okay, so if you want to write fight scenes, very first, watch anime. Seriously, that is how I got so good. Second, try, and I know not everyone can do this, but if you can, try, picture it in your head like you would see it on a screen. Try to imagine it moment by moment, action by action. A really good way to describe it is look at a manga. If you look at a manga, that would be a really good way to try to picture it. And yeah, anime approved. And just don't go overboard. It's really easy to do that. It's really easy to do that with an action scene. In fact, actually, I have another writing group I see on Tuesdays, and last night I actually read out a fighting scene for them between 3 different characters. Okay, I know they're a bunch of older ladies and they aren't used to this kind of genre, so I understand why they got lost. And it was a fan fiction too,
Mhm.
I will admit it was a little bit much even for me. But I kept the sentences really short. I kept them, well, I think the term is punchy,
Mhm.
and just short and to the point. There was a lot going on, but I didn't have these long flowing sentences of oh and this and have like 20 words in a single sentence. There was like 5, maybe 7 to 8. And I try to keep it as short as possible while having as
Mhm.
much going on. Now, granted, I could understand what was going on because not only did I write it, I'm used to that, but it really helped when I actually made it out moment by moment and almost action for action.
Interesting.
You're not trying to write. It's actually a lot harder than writing a poem, I think, because a poem is really artistic and flowy, and action scenes are not. They are basically they're pebbles. They're pebbles
Mhm.
versus wind.
I'm
like
going to
that.
need your help there, Saul, because I've discovered that my latest book that I'm working on is got a lot more actions than I'm used to. But can I bring up one point from the editing that I go through that we've not talked about, and it is ordering a proof copy,
Mhm.
and then going through and marking up
That's
everything that you
interesting.
find,
Okay.
wrong. So that is, because after when I got the proof copy, then I had, I always talk about I have a PDF to read back the
Mhm.
story, and because the PDF's accents are a lot better than Eastern Kentucky accents,
Makes
so
it a little easier.
I was going, as it was reading, I was highlighting and marking everything that I was finding that needed to be corrected. Then
Mhm.
once I went through and found all the mistakes, then as I made them, I marked that I had made the corrections. So it was a
Yeah,
good
I
way to.
actually I think that's a really good strategy, ML. I've never thought of getting the proof copy of the book and then using that as almost like a proofreading in the proofreading stage. I would like normally think like, okay, I'll just print out the whole thing myself. I'll print out the whole manuscript and then just edit the manuscript through my word processor once it's printed. So I do believe in like I think it gives you a different sense, either reading it or seeing it aloud when it's not on a screen. But what I actually love about that, ML, is that it gives you it puts you in the mind of the reader. And that is one thing that we can always forget about as writers, as authors, is that at the end of the day, the goal is create an awesome reading experience. So I think I really, really
Plus,
like
it lets you see how your cover's going to be. It lets you
Mhm.
make those changes ahead of time.
Mhm.
Like, and it lets you see if your formatting is working, because I format my books myself using Word, which is
Mhm.
not the world's easiest program to use
Mhm.
to format a book. So
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you because I've used Word a lot, and I think I just rely on it because of its ease and familiarity. But I know other programs are just better. I think what I should probably do is probably find a program that I can download and use offline, and then use that through the streams if I wanted to make it a little bit more organized. But that's a really good call out though. That's a really, really good point. Does everybody here, do all you guys read your stories aloud or like read your manuscripts aloud at some stage of it? Because I think that's actually really important.
I try to, and I
Mhm.
probably should a lot more than I do. I've
Mhm.
actually been looking into trying to find a program that can that can actually read my story aloud to me.
Mhm.
And part of that is I'm not used to reading aloud, surprisingly. But I feel like I'd actually hear it better if it's not in my own voice. That may not make sense, but I feel like it might.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that, James?
I read aloud, at least for the second or third edit pass. I'll read it out loud and then make my edits there. I also use AutoCrit because AutoCrit has a functionality in it that it'll read for you.
Which one does? You said AutoCrit does have that functionality?
AutoCrit, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not surprised because AutoCrit does have a lot of functionality. I think it was just something I didn't get to with it. Yeah, I think the power of reading it out loud is you can just hear it. You hear it from a different perspective. I think that's really the strength and the truth of it. I know, my Jordy was saying sometimes I use a text-to-speech AI and it really helps, but it's usually free only till the 5-minute mark. So I know sometimes that can adjust or shift over time. As we think about like the direction of like reading stuff out loud, the same question that's on my mind is proofreading. Do all you guys take your stories through a final proofread? Is that like a consistent thing, or is that something you guys think that gets skipped by certain authors?
I did with Burning Ember, and I'm going to with Shifting Flame, and I also do that with all my fan fictions before I post the chapters online. I, at the very least, give it one read through to make sure I don't catch any glaring errors. That way there's nothing major that slips through. If there's something minor, I'll catch it later and I'll like re-upload and stuff. But at the very least, I want to get like the stuff where it's basically smacking you in the face when you open the book. And I will say, I do want to add this real quick. I actually have a proof of my own book too. I actually printed out the first draft of Burning Ember, and I still have it somewhere with the original cover I had for it. And I actually compared it to Burning Ember when it released. The difference was staggering. Actually seeing it side by side was staggering. Definitely worth it though.
That is so cool. Like actually, and that brings me into the mindset of covers, because cover art is actually has been on my mind a lot, because I'm currently in the process of getting my cover made for Last Scarecrow. It kind of comes to me. How do you guys think of like the covers for your books? I think this is probably a really, really great conversation to have, because ultimately, if you could have the most amazing story in the entire world, but if you don't have a good cover, nobody reads it.
So I think as far as mine, since mine is isekai harem fantasy and it's more anime based, I had to go along the lines of my characters needed to be more anime, from the drawing. So I went that route. So because it's a harem, the characters on the cover are the first two harem members, which is Alana, Rill, and Leah. And then each cover afterwards for book 2 will be 2 more harem members. Book 3, 4, and 5 will each have 2 additional harem members on it.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's almost like it's growing with each novel.
Yes. So they see
really cool.
Yeah. So they see the characters that are going to join the harem as a part of that novel there. I thought about doing one with the main character as a part of it. And that may be book 3. I'm still kind of not sure whether or not I want to do that or not, but I'll see. May have him with the 2 harem members from that book.
It's not a bad idea. And then for anybody who like does have cover art or who has it ready, what I'll do is, for any of you guys, I'm happy to throw it up here on the screen if anyone wants to take a look at covers. I think everybody here, most of you here are probably in the Discord. Feel free to drop it in the Discord, the art channel, and I'm happy to throw it up on screen, or you can message it to me. I'm fine with showing everybody's art. Because
I threw mine up in Discord before.
Mine's in Discord.
Let's see. I know I have Souls because I've seen it recently. let's see. Let me share the screen. I'll throw it up over here. Let's see. Well, I'm finding that though. Let's see a couple comments. Holly, you're like, I can't wait to see Scarecrow's cover. Like we're you and me both. I feel like I have the most epic cover design ever that still works towards the fantasy genre trends. But it still does something unique. So we'll see how it turns out if it matches my vision. But I think I found a good artist.
Jared, it's October the 18th is when I posted it in Discord.
October, okay.
In the art channel.
Okay. Let's see. Courtney is like, I wish I could convince someone to read it to me. Well, that's what family's for, right, guys? Isn't the family just there for them to be our forced audience or be our forced readers?
There are some things your family should not read that you've written.
It depends. If you're a sadist and you want to torture them, have them read it. Yeah, that's me. I'm like, family, yeah, come on, let's read this. And they'd be like, this isn't my stuff. And I'm like, I know, but thanks anyways.
Like, remember that one time we had that really difficult family trip? Well, I want you to read my book because I love you.
This is payback for that. Thanks.
I love that. And Lynn actually brings up a really good point. This is actually very important. Make sure your covers look good in thumbnail. This is the same thing with like media, advertising. I think of this with YouTube thumbnails all the time. But something to keep in mind is that what is the size that new readers will see it? You don't know if they're going to see it on a small phone or on a big computer screen. And I think that's very, very important. Absolutely. I think if I was going to test out my cover, I would probably get, if I lived near a bookstore, I would try to get a cover of the book. I would put it on just like some random book, go to a bookstore, and then I'd put it in the shelf and see if it stands out. I would just do my own test and then take it out, of course. I'm not just going to drop my book somewhere. But I think that's how I would test it, because I'd try to think of like, all right, what does the cover look like on a bookshelf as well? Let's see. Let me pull up a couple of your guys' covers. Let me share the screen. All right. So I think first one I have here, Soul. I got yours. The Pirates Shifting. This was your first. Oh, no, that was book 2.
This is book 2. Yeah. And this one's not done.
Okay. So this one is still your work in progress. So I got that one. Perfect. So let me pull up one that is done. I'll pull up a couple of them. Looks like I'll have to go back through some of our cover art. Dang, we actually have some really cool cover art in the Discord. You guys can just go with me on the journey. So we have a couple. Love Spell. We got some concept art. Courtney, there was yours for your biker story that you're working on. Totally still makes me now want to watch Sons of Anarchy. Let's see what else. I don't know. Whenever I go back through stuff, I always crack myself up looking at things. Let's see. Let me go see if I can find. We got Funko stuff. Here we go. This was the cover for yours, right?
Yep.
James.
Mm-hmm. Book 1. Yeah.
Heroes of Sacrifice. Awesome. And I'm always curious with writers, like how did you land on the cover?
So as far as the cover is concerned, it has portals in it. So in the background, you've got the portal there. Mm-hmm. And it was mainly, when I was looking at comps related to this, I wanted to make sure that it matched up comp wise. And what I've found in most of the harem genre is that the focus is on the females, the harem members. Much like on the reverse harem side, most of the time you see shirtless guys with 12-pack abs and things like that. So it's just one of those things that just kind of shows off that. And so I got an artist to draw my characters up.
Very, very cool.
The left-hand side is Alana Real. She's an elf. And then the right-hand side is a Pantherian. Her name is Leah.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So I like that one. I'm always curious. I think this is a really interesting conversation of how we decide on book covers specifically. All right, let's see. And then Bobby, yours was the one that you had sent to me previously, right? That's the book cover for your story.
If it's the dude in the woods with his hands on his head sitting on a piece of a tree, yes.
I got
If
the one in
not,
the
then
wheel.
no. Show the new
Okay.
one. I just sent that one.
I have not received it.
You have to. I sent you a direct message on Discord and put it in the art channel.
Awesome. Let's see. I will pull that up. But I know a number of us have definitely have art covers. Let me hop back into the art. Let's see. Yeah, Bobby, I'm not seeing your stuff over in Discord. It could just be me. I'd say refresh just to double check that it posted.
So I got a quick question in relation to book covers and art.
Mhm.
For those of you who have had book covers done, do you have your art done in a way that you have it separate?
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is that, like with my book cover, you can see the whole cover there, but I had the artist draw each of the characters separately with transparent backgrounds to where I can actually put it on social media. I can put it in, I can have stickers done, things like that. So I was just kind of curious if other people who have done covers, especially covers with characters, if you create that separation where you can actually use those characters in stickers and things like that. I also have NSFW drawings of those same characters, so I can do both sides of stickers and posters.
And so the question is using the same cover onto like merchandise type stuff.
Not really using the same cover. It's using, so let me see. I can.
He's better at marketing than
Awesome. Let's see, James. Well, you're pulling that up. I'll throw up CJ. You added the update. That one's actually way better, by the way. I like this one way more. That is a very cool cover vest. I feel like this should be the title, the cover, by the way, Courtney. This is such a more engaging cover. Because I feel like it pulls it in. ML, perfect. I know you had shown it on screen as on your camera as well, but I know Dead Caster as like clearly, and this is always a focus in a lot of mainstream covers, is that the focus of the cover is on the character, the protagonist, or the protagonists. So I'm definitely not surprised to see that.
Right, so I'm sharing my screen, so if you want to flip over to it.
If you'll scroll down, you'll see mine, Kaufman.
Let's see. James, I'll hop over to yours in just a second.
Yep, no problem.
Bobby. Oh yeah, that's really, really nice. I'll go back to yours in just a second, Lynn. But what I like about yours, Bobby, is that it has like this tension with it. It has a tension and the emotion is very clear. Even though we don't see the character's face, I think the body language is very obvious. So like I think then something like this, then it's almost like, do you know where the title is going to go in it yet?
I don't, but I do know this.
Mm-hmm.
I will give a little bit of information. It is loosely based on my life story. There are some elements that I put in there, and here and there, but more so than that, it's just a fiction story. But there are parts in it that are actually true. But I made it to where the character in the book is going through it rather than naming myself as the person having gone through what I have gone through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, essentially you're telling the character journey, but it's almost like it's like your story, but there's a bit of a divide. It's not the same story detail by detail, but it's close enough to sharing the overall journey. Mm-hmm. Which
it's
that's
like
actually
when I was doing my memoir, which it's like when I was doing my memoir,
Mm-hmm.
That obviously, is true and, what have you. But I couldn't get through it without being a bucket of tears every time, especially when I would hit certain scenes. So I just decided that fictionalizing it would be a better option.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, knock on wood, I have no wood to knock on, but so far, knock on wood, it is going better this way than it was the memoir direction.
Well, I think that was absolutely a really, really good choice, Bobby. I think as authors, and especially for those of you working in memoir or those of you pulling from real life experiences or traumas, I think you have to be able to find that balance where I can tell the story without losing myself in it. And I know that's difficult. I don't write memoirs for that reason, because I need a I would have to go through an understanding within myself of how can I separate and do it in a way that's healthy. And I know that at times, depending on what I explored, could be difficult for me. So I definitely, my hat goes off to you, Bobby, and any of our memoir writers community.
And see, that's one of the things my therapist actually said to me was, don't put yourself in the story. Write it like you're writing it, in second, third person, whatever, not first person.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, you know what, that might work. And then somebody on here said something. I don't remember who it was or what they said, but it set something off in me that was like, that could work. And I'm doing it, and I'm putting in true elements here and there and fictionalizing the rest, but still it is memoir was. So there
awesome.
we go.
Well, Bobby, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's awesome. I know Soul, we saw yours here. Most of you guys have seen, I know I've pulled Souls up in the community before, book 1 Ember. This is another really interesting technique for fantasy stories. Or sci-fi. So yours is sci-fi, right?
Yeah, I know. Everyone wants to think it's fantasy, but it actually has absolutely no fantasy.
I think we associate pirates generally with fantasy world, but space pirates are a thing, right? So clearly, but I think because we see a ship, it's like ship fire. Oh, okay, fantasy. I think that becomes an assumption.
Yeah.
But this model is actually very popular for using like an object or a place, and we actually see this a lot in science fiction. Not necessarily for pirate stuff, but for like space. So many times we see like the spaceship, or we see the planet. And or think about if you read like a Star Trek book, you're probably going to see the USS Enterprise, or some variation of it. And a lot of the cover art for some of those spinoffs.
Or a pirate with cybernetics on him.
Yep. Because then it's speaking to science fiction elements, right? Science fiction tropes. Like, oh yeah, that's science fiction. I could see that. So
well,
how did you end up on the cover?
While my story focused on like one character and his journey, I actually did not want to go the people route, because I see so many covers with people on them.
Oh, really?
That I felt like this worked better.
Which this actually brings up a really great question. So I'm going to throw up some more covers over in the Discord. I'll throw up some from the Discord, but this brings up a really good question. What do you guys like in a cover? When, let's say, maybe you go to the bookstore, maybe you're looking online through your Kindle, through Amazon, whatever you read on, what stands out to you personally? Because there's a lot of mainstream elements for covers, but you personally, what do you like in seeing in a cover? I throw this out to all you guys here and to everyone in the chat. What do you like to see in cover art?
I know personally, I like to see contrast in colors.
Okay.
Where there's colors like what I did with the blue sails, that there's like one color scheme, and then there's one, maybe two colors that stand out against it that really catch your eye. I personally avoid the ones with people on the covers because it's just so overdone, and I feel like they don't stand out as much, even if they have something that makes them unique compared to other people. It's still, they don't stand out nearly as much to me as something.
It's harder, right? It's a little bit more difficult, and this is the thing with mainstream stuff. When we go to try to bring something to our cover, we have to take into consideration what mainstream appeal is if we're trying to market to a mainstream audience. We don't have to do the same mainstream, like you're not doing the same mainstream thing per se, but it's something that we have to be aware of, because mainstream things happen because thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people have shown that that's what they prefer, right? The market does not lie.
Yeah.
The right now it seems to be in the genres that I write in, it's illustrated covers, you know.
Yeah, I see a lot of illustrated covers, actually.
You know, I first started with people, you know, but then I had to go back because I had missed the mark on the cover by not doing the illustrated. So I had to redo the first novella to put an illustration on it so that it would stay consistent throughout the series. So, but
I think that was a good call.
But, you know, I guess, you know, if you're trying to market, you know, you really have to look at the books in your genre to make sure that your cover is hitting the mark if you're trying to market for the trends that are out there.
Completely agreed with that. And then as I pull up Discord again, it looks like I had Alyssa's Lynn, your cover was next. The Girl Who Brings the Dead. I think what I like about something like this is the detail with the character themselves. And I think trying to capture a realistic character like that is always the challenge and the goal. And clearly it works for you because you're pretty far. I know Lynn's pretty far into her series.
Great book.
Aw, that's awesome. You hear that, Lynn? You got another review over here. Really, really good book. Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. Penelope Arditura's Requiem. Absolutely a great read. I am not biased at all, I promise you. But definitely a good read. But definitely a really, really cool. And then this is actually so similar to your approach, where Penelope is relying on an item, right? We're relying on an item, an object, a flower to pull the reader in of like, oh, okay, interesting flower. Requiem makes me think Requiem for a Dream. Okay. So I could totally see that strategy. Let's see, what else do we got? We got Marta's also relying on an object, technically like a compass. You could argue, like, I would say like you're essentially using a compass, an item or an object to once again pull the reader into checking it out, which is another clearly good. Maybe we have a lot of writers in the community who are really focusing on objects and items. Maybe that's the thing. I was like, what am I? I think I'm focusing on character myself. I know I'm personally focusing on character to sell the story. And then James, I know you had your screen pulled up. If you want, I can pull it back up now.
Oh, yeah, let me.
But I love showing people's covers, right? And I think regardless of what your preference is, regardless of what you try, at the end of the day, just be aware of what the trends are, right? If you're going to go with the flow and do the trend, do the trend. If you're going to go against the flow and do something different, then do that. But just be aware. It's like, know the rules before you can break them. I think it's the way I like to look at it. And then what was this? This was the background for it, right?
Yeah. So basically, when I had the artwork done for it, I made sure that there was a separation done between those. So this is the background. This is Leah standalone, and then this is Atlanta Reel. So having these done this way allows for me to be able to pull Atlanta Reel out and put it, do a sticker for Atlanta Reel or do a poster with just Atlanta Reel on it. With a portal, I can put a completely different background there. And so that's how I have my artwork done, is as even if there's more than one character in the artwork, I make sure that they're drawn as standalone characters so that I'm able to get all of that. Because you can see Leah's got all the hair that you don't see when they're together on the cover, but I had that all drawn out.
Which I think that's very cool and definitely very, very important. And I mean, like, I'm so used to, I'm used to Photoshop because I do, being an online YouTuber, right? I've probably created now hundreds upon hundreds of thumbnails that have to pull people in. So I have an understanding of art and cover design mixed with marketing to some extent. But I think separating it into the different layers is interesting. It really is, because you want to think about all the elements that are catching people. And I know it's interesting you say that, James, because I've definitely been thinking about the same thing with the cover design that I have planned for Scarecrow. I definitely, like, with the artist, I think I'm unique in that I've taken months upon months to think about what it was that I want. And then I know exactly what it is I want. I found the style I want. Now it's just trying to mix the two and bring it to life. But I thought about the foreground layer, the midground, and then the background layer as well. So I think that's definitely really, really interesting. And I can tell that we definitely have a lot of covers. Bobby, I know you're like, I like when the book cover pulls you in, but then you read the story and are engrossed in it. Absolutely agreed, my friend. And I think that is the goal of any of us as writers and authors, right? We want to, the cover is a promise. The blurb is setting expectations. And then the first chapter, or maybe the first couple chapters, depending on reader engagement, can make or break whether they read through the story. And then depending on the climax and the ending of the story can make or break if they're going to read the next one and become a consistent reader. So it's almost like a flow process. But I definitely agree with that. So I absolutely have loved sharing everyone's covers. I think once again, this brings me back into the mindset of clearly I probably need to do a book cover stream. Like, we could definitely bring up streams. I think the last big one I did like that was the blurb one, and that was a lot of fun. So I think something that I'll do is I'll plan a cover stream maybe for December once we're through our November schedule. And I'll probably find somebody who has a specialty with cover design. So I think that would be very, very cool. But in the meantime, that was a great conversation. And I think now is probably an excellent, excellent time to get a little bit of writing done. So let's hop into a writing sprint. And before we do, James, like, like, make sure we do that. Like, make sure I actually do this right. But before we do, for those of you who are here in the stream, thank you for joining us so far. If you're enjoying the stream and you're having fun, follow and subscribe. 320 consecutive writing streams and counting, and many, many more to come. We have some cool stuff coming up, whether you're looking for our Hermes the Cat story, we'll talk about Hermes the Cat in just a little bit, or whether you're looking for other specialty streams. We meet every Wednesday here for the Right Now Writers Group, but something is always going on. So if you're ever struggling with your writing, Right Now is the community to be. Tap those follow and subscribe buttons and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right. And with my follow and subscribe, let's pull everyone back up. I think I got the timer. Perfect. So we'll do a 25-minute sprint. Let's see. Yeah. So we'll do 25 minutes. Let's get a little bit of work in today. I'll throw up some of our random music and we will do it. Let's see who can get the most words. I'm going to be doing editing, so I'll be a little different, but we'll see if anyone can beat our word pros of the community, which is, of course, Chatsoul and Bobby. So I know those two are our word champions. So let's see how many words we can get in the sprint. We're going to do 25 minutes. Whether you're writing, brainstorming, or editing, that's all part of the process. All right, and I am all ready. So we got 25 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. All right, my fellow writers, that brings us to the end of this sprint. So this time, 7-minute break, and then we're gonna hop right back into it so we can get some writing done. Awesome. How'd the sprint treat all you guys?
Not too bad. I was doing a review of book covers because I've got a new series a trilogy that I'm working on. So it's getting book covers done. So the book 2 cover came in. So I did a review of that real quick and sent the feedback to the artist.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. So is that like a thing you do where you're doing review covers for like other artists or other writers?
No, it's book covers for mine.
Oh, book. Okay, cool. But
yeah. I'm going to be writing a trilogy that's in the same vein of Isekai Harem, but the protagonist in the harem is going to be completely different. It's going to be more of a arcane punk, steampunk type setting as opposed to an epic fantasy setting.
Okay, so mixing up the genres a little bit.
Yep. And then the next one after that will be sci-fi.
Okay, what made you decide to switch genres?
Just trying to cover different genres. I'm trying to maintain like the Isekai harem as the overall.
Gotcha. As the main thing you're known for, and then switching between subgenres. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and just having fantasy and steampunk, and then sci-fi, and I may get into some horror or whatever that'll be.
Which I think that's interesting. I know last week on our last Wednesday's writer meeting, we were talking about staying in a genre or sticking to a style. And I think it's almost for you, it sounds like it's sticking to a style that you become known for, unless a genre. But I'm of the mindset, I'm of the mindset, stick to a genre, because then people gravitate towards you for that genre. And then once you build enough of a following or readership, then expand. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to it. I think it's just two different strategies. And one's probably a little easier, but it also depends on what type of writing you do. I'm fortunate that as in the fantasy genre, fantasy is one of the two most popular genres in 2024, and it has been for some time, mixed with romance. So I'm pretty sure that romance has definitely beat out fantasy over the past 2 or 3 years, and that could be due to the prevalence of TikTok and book talk. That's definitely a possibility. But I know those are during the two favorites.
Yeah, and it's just like with the second series that I'm going to be working on next year, there's fantasy elements to it. Because it ends up in sort of a fantasy world, but it's kind of a mixture of magic and technology, and they're kind of competing against each other and fighting each other. Like you have wizards that are more magic based, and then you have automatons who are technology based, but there's a element of fantasy and magic in those, because the way the automatons are actually created is by the use of magic.
Oh, I like that.
So it's one of those. I really do. So I've got that, and then the protagonist is going to be a mediator. He starts off as a UN negotiator, and he ends up in this fantasy world, and so he's got to try and negotiate a peace between those two. Well, there's 3 factions. There's magical humans, non-magical humans, and then automatons. And they're all kind of at odds with each other.
Well, that's kind of cool. And then so the isekai harem fantasy is essentially a character in the real world gets thrust into a fantastical world through some type of portal or magic or portal type technology.
Yep. A summoning or a portal that he goes through. And then, so those are the 2. And then the one further down that's sci-fi is actually a reincarnation isekai. So he's on Earth, he dies, and then he's reborn in a futuristic sci-fi world.
Well, that's very, very cool. It sounds like you definitely have a lot of stories both on your plate and then working on, which I know that's probably something that a lot of writers can relate with. I know Soul, ML, I think I've hear both you guys working on multiple projects at a time. I
Yes.
used to be like that. This is probably the first time in my entire writing journey of 20, 25 years or so, where I've been solely focused this year on the one project. This is a first for me, and I haven't lost the inspiration. I just feel motivated. I probably won't stop until the book's done. And when I say done, published and marketed and published.
But then it's on to book 2.
Exactly. But this is the thing this is the thing I'm really struggling with. And I would love your guys' opinion on this. When we read a book, the next thing we ask is, what's the next book you want to read? I know once people read the first book, they're going to want to know, all right, what happens in book 2? I know that's going to be a thing. But from my branding with WriteNow branding, it also makes sense for me personally to write a book about writing, some type of writing thing that goes in line with helping new writers learn the writing process. So then I'm at that point of like, okay, do I go straight on to The Last Scarecrow because now I've built up an expectation for it? Or do I write a novella or something shorter to cater to the writing niche? Two completely different genres and 2 different brands.
Why can't you do both?
I can, but I would probably be able to make more. I feel like I would probably be able to make more process or more speed if I go one, knock it out, then the other.
Yeah. Well, so what I was thinking is like, you did The Last Scarecrow first book on the stream.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you've got all of that. You've gained all this experience and stuff. You can go in and start doing the second book, and you can continue to kind of put it out here on the channel as you're working through the second book. And if you want to continue to do the writing streams, things like that. But on the background, be working on the nonfiction help book in your spare time.
I kind of like that. I think my only challenge I face is what spare time.
You could find some. There's plenty of hours in the day. There's like 40 hours a day, right?
You know what? All those editing clients, they don't need their stuff edited. Those stories will edit themselves.
Prioritization.
The WriteNow community will just run itself. If I don't show up, the streams will just turn on. No, I totally get that. I've definitely thought about that as well. And especially as I look into like year 2 and like actually being able to like balance stuff, I've definitely really considered that. But I feel like
you figure a book like that, self-help, 20, 30,000 words at most.
Yeah, and I mean that could be
not
short.
that big.
Yeah, I mean self-help books do tend to be shorter. They definitely do. But
They're
I also
short and to the point.
The average.
Yeah, so they're short and to the point. You just with 20 to 30,000 words, if you stretch it out over a year, an hour a day, you could just dedicate. I'm going to write what I need to for an hour on that book. By the end of the year, it should have.
Yeah, I was looking at what the average word count is for just nonfiction self-help category. Google's first result is 40 to 60,000 words.
Oh, that's
self-help and work. They can be 20 to 70,000, but it says average is 40 to 60. That's interesting. Which is essentially the novella range, short story or novella range.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I appreciate you guys. Penelope's like, we want a book of haikus written on the stream.
So you leave it up to the troublemaker to what haiku.
Exactly. I was like, I could do poetry, but I'm definitely a little rusty at it. I feel like I'd have to expand my vocabulary a bit to be able to, I feel like, do something that felt creative and fulfilling for me personally.
Hey, Penelope says she loves to write nonfiction, so maybe you can collaborate with her on getting that project done.
I've definitely considered doing collaborations as well, because collaborations definitely do save time and they definitely work. I mean, James, as you well know, with Rachel, like collaborations are really a thing. And then Soul, well, clearly we're working on Hermes the cat, so I think we all have some collaboration experience here.
Jezebel would be a wonderful co-writer of that book.
Things aren't breaking, of course.
I don't know why I got that image in my head of Jezebel like being like the whip master of Grandpa Cough, like being forced to just like read these stories. Like, oh my god!
There's a meme. I don't know if you guys play Ark, Survival Evolved, or
I do.
No, okay. I haven't had the chance, but no.
So there's a horse that's in there, and you can tame the horse by basically feeding it a vegetable, and then you ride it to try and break it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a meme that went around, and there's woman, she's hanging around the horse's neck with a carrot shoving into its mouth, and in the bubble above it says, "Here, take my love." He's trying to shove the food down the throat. That's when I think of Jezebel. She's just like, take it, take it.
I could totally see that as well. I could totally see that. Take my love. Oh my god, I love that. I think Jezebel is off in the aether, and I'm sure Jezebel will reappear when the timing is right for her. Absolutely agreed. Same with old Grandpa Cough. If he ever finds his way out of the cornfield.
Or stop telling the kids to stay off his lawn.
Courtney, I appreciate you as well. Definitely appreciate you, my friends. By the way, I know I didn't get the chance to throw up, but it sounds like everyone got some really great words in that last sprint. 200 words over with Megan. Courtney, 615 words. Oh My Jordy wrote 15 words. But the sentence is perfect. I think you really bring into question quantity over quality. Maybe this is just like the most incredible sentence in the world. Then I fully approve. You guys got more words than me because I definitely did not write anything. So I got distracted. I definitely got distracted this time around.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Oh man, but all good distractions. So ML James, were you guys able to make any progress on that last sprint?
I got 100 words.
100 words more than me, so
I got most of chapter 1 done for my fic, as well as finished the prologue, and I got nearly 800 words.
From now on, what I'm going to wait until after you go, Saul, and whatever you say, I'm going to add 1. So I don't feel like a failure anymore.
All right, Soul will go first, Bobby will go second, and then we'll just combine theirs, and I'll be like, yeah, I did 3,000 words that writing. No, I can't write it. My screen share doesn't work. Oh man, how about you, James? Were you able to make any progress?
Book cover, that's pretty much it. And I got like 70 words in a response back to the artist.
Woo.
Yeah, so that's about it. So.
I know. I'm literally like focusing on like branding stuff right now, but let's do it. Let's do another sprint. 20 minutes this time. I think we can make it in without pushing our 2-hour mark too long. So let's get one more writing sprint in because clearly we got some work to do. We got 20 minutes to try to catch up to Soul. I believe in us. Believe in the heart of the words or the perfect sentence, Jordy. Jordy, if you're there, the perfect sentence. So I'm going to throw it back up on the screen. 20 minutes and let's write. Once my timer restarts, let's write now. Writing sprints done. Excellent. How did that writing treat all you guys? Hopefully making some good words. I was editing, going through the Hermes script. I was like, I can't even write it till I get through. I need to get through the editing and revising first. Very happy.
Got about halfway through my chapter.
Oh, sounds like making a little progress over here.
Yeah.
Megan said she made 448 words. Absolutely awesome. Very cool. I think I got through like one chapter of editing.
I was editing, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Like I edited the whole time. I got 500 words while editing.
All right. So how many words did you get? We need to know.
I got over 800 this time.
Okay, I got 850. So there we go.
Dang.
And I also finished the first chapter and got halfway through the second. So
I edited 851. Oh man, sounds like we're making some good progress over here. Megan's like editing, researching a few words, and trying to get a little further when writing. How bad breath seep through the fangs in my one sentence. Trying to get that right level of description, always a great thing. Majority 46 good words, no perfect sentence, I must say, but good nonetheless. Courtney 476 words. Sounds like a lot of us are in that 400 range, unless we're at the chat soul or clearly James level of this sprint. So, but remember, regardless of how many words, it's not about the consistency. It's about the quality and the overall plan. So definitely really great work, my friends. Glad to have all of you guys in here. By the way, Madness, welcome to the stream, my friend. So as we're getting to this part of the stream, before I close it, before I wrap up, I should have totally announced this earlier, but this Friday is the very first critique group for the WriteNow community. So for those of you who don't know, we're doing, I'm trying it out. We're trying a brand new critique group for anybody who wants to be involved. You have to become a channel member to be involved. For cheap, $5. Very cheap for only being able to share your story, read it aloud. It's going to be a closed session, and then getting feedback from other writers outside of myself. Now, normally critique groups are very expensive, especially quality critique groups. So I'm trying it out for the first couple of months as a trial to see and test out what's working and what doesn't work. For those of you who are working on your story and need feedback, definitely highly recommend to come join us. It's going to be this Friday at, what did I set it for? I want to say I set it for, I think 4 p.m. Pacific. I think 4 p.m. Pacific. So we're going to be going for a couple hours. For those of you guys who want to join and you want to embark on this experience with us, all you have to do is you have to hit the join button below the video or on the YouTube channel to become a channel member. And then there's other perks that will get unlocked as well. So definitely recommend, definitely come join us because it's going to be an interesting experience. It'll be fun. I know there's a couple of you in the community who are going to be hopping or who are on the bandwagon. You're like, Courtney, like, I have a question about that, Kaufman. Should I message you on Discord? Yeah, absolutely. You can message me on Discord. I'm happy to address any questions. Granted, today, what I'll do is for those of you guys who have questions about it, why don't we'll chat about it more tomorrow on my on a normal writing stream. So,
also, I do want to say for anyone who's interested, before you guys do that, I am doing an event on Discord, so people can come and watch me actually write the game. If anyone is interested, I want to make sure I got that in. So,
no, that's actually very important. So, like Friday, we got a lot going on. So we're going to have Souls collaboration. It's a co-working session on Discord, which means for those of you who aren't in the Discord, join the Discord. Link to the Discord is down in the YouTube description. But I know, so you're going to be doing a co-working session for, I think you were planning a little while, right?
It's It's kind of a co-working session, and
Mhm.
it's mainly to show people what it looks like for game writing.
Mhm.
Anybody who wants to give ideas out, that maybe can't go through the submission form for whatever reason, or just
Mhm.
doesn't have any ideas yet, but get some during that moment. I'll be doing it for, I think I have it scheduled for like, I want to say 3:30 my time, so 3:30 Eastern. And I will be doing it all the way up until the critique group starts.
Awesome. So yeah, clearly we got some stuff going on. Co-working sessions are always super fun. And then also being able to see what the game process looks like is going to be a very, very cool experience. Well, of course, we'll have our normal writing stream. Hopefully I can actually make progress with Scarecrow, which I have. We didn't really even go into our story details today, but this last section, I added a hand, which is basically like the hand from Adam's Family. That was like the new thing that I just added into this last section. We're playing around. It's playing around with some styles. So clearly I'm having a lot of fun.
It's the hand named Foot, right?
It's the hand named Foot. The hand named Foot, and then there's the foot named Hand. And they go hand in hand or hand in foot, whatever you want to call it. So awesome. Let's see. So I feel very, very good about all this. I want to say Soul, James, ML, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for another very awesome writers group. James, I'm glad to have you join us. It's always cool when we get other writers from the community hopping on the stream with us, because this writers group isn't possible without you guys. And the goal of this is to be able to bring value and to be able to emulate a real writers group. So I'm very, very grateful. Thanks for joining me all today.
No, not a problem at all. I was glad to be able to bless you all with my beautiful face.
Was that before or after you hopped out of the portal?
After.
Okay. Awesome. So thank you all for joining us. Let's see. Perfect. Some stuff in the chat, and that is what we got for you. So I think I'll close with that. No special outro today. What I will say is we'll be back next Wednesday with another Right Now Writers Group. I'll do a quick close out. I'm Kaufman, and these amazing writers are, I'm going to do it this way.
Chat Soul.
James Adams.
ML Claxon.
And I will catch you guys on the morrow. Thanks for joining us, my friends.